Hello and welcome to Life's Nuggets with Susan and Patricia. My name is Patricia Carr and I'm a mindset coach.
And I'm Susan, and I'm a nutritionist.
Susan, we are talking about the secret to a successful long-term relationship today.
We are.
And
Oh,
I'm excited about this because we are both in long-term relationships and we're both happy. And I'm not sure if that's the norm or not. Um, but when you hear the rates of divorce and everything else, I think that we should talk that there are happy, successful, long-term marriages out there. And so maybe we need to talk about why is it working for us and maybe what people might want to know, especially those that are just starting out.
yeah. Or I
Thoughts?
think, especially if you might be at a stage where you are struggling, I think it's important to understand that, like, no marriage is linear, right? No marriage is going to be perfect all the time, right?
Yeah,
And I think things like social media and, the movies that come out about it are often sort of very, everything always ends up really well. They always go through that little hard bit, but then it's always a hard bit that's like so unrealistic. I'm like, really? So I think that unconscious, like it plays into people's psyche, right? I think we're
yeah.
fed that all the time, right? I saw even in the news the other day, they were talking about um the princess myth, that women want to be treated like princesses. I'm like, no, I don't. Actually, I want to be treated with respect. I want to be seen. I want to be acknowledged. And I think that kind of comes into it, right? It isn't this fairy tale romance. It really isn't. It's a partnership, and I think it evolves and it grows over the years, right?
Absolutely. And there's just so much out there that kind of
Mm.
when you're talking about social media, but even books, soap
Mm.
operas, right? I'm a fan of The Young and the Restless. What can I say? Um,
Nothing wrong with it.
they fall in and out of love like at a drop of a hat. It's really quite funny. And there's nothing realistic about that
No.
because like you're either my entire world or I'm divorcing you. And there's the reality
Yeah.
TV. You look at Say Yes to the Dress.
Oh my gosh. It's the, you know,
I'll say I've watched pieces of it, but I've never actually watched a whole episode.
so I did watch one once, and I just remember the whole time thinking, this is a show. But it's also somebody's life. It was weird because obviously it's reality TV, so it's filtered, there are things of it that's staged, but I'm like, this is one day, one
Yeah.
day out of a whole marriage. And yet, maybe we could get into a whole other podcast on it, but I find a lot of people put so much focus on that one day, right? There's all this stress into planning a marriage, planning a wedding. And I hear that. I'm like that's your starting point. That isn't the marriage in itself. That's one day out of hopefully thousands that you're going to have with your partner.
I had a friend of mine a number of years ago, and she met her guy, but they were
Hmm.
long distance. So
Right.
they would go back and forth. And so it was all very exciting because when you're long distance,
Yeah.
like every time you see each other, it's kind of like a honeymoon, right?
Yeah.
And then she moved to his city and they very, very quickly got married. So it went from this whole honeymoon of going back and forth and then moving over there and immediately planning this wedding. And then they got married. And I remember her
And then
saying,
what happens,
yes,
right?
about 2 years later, she said to me, is this all there is? Because she went from this excitement, 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 excitement to now everyday life, right? We go out to work, we come home, we make dinner, we have chores around the house, there's all these sorts of things. And now it's just everyday life. And
Yeah.
they are happily married today, but she went through that period
Mhm.
of the reality check of like, oh, okay,
This is what it is it?
this is it. And so I would have to say, if we were talking about what makes a happy relationship is learning to be happy and content with the day to day. Like
Oh
that's
yeah,
the
and
bread and butter of what you got. And you can make it exciting here and there, but
for sure, you can't have it every day. Like if every day it was exciting and romantic, you'd be like none of us would survive it. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, and I agree with you. I think it is, but even in the day to day, sometimes it's little snippets, right? That you kind of that are fun or that are exciting or that you kind of, if you put on something slightly different and they notice it or do you know what I mean? And it's not, those are the things I think that are, it's not specifically the spice, but they give it that little spark still, right?
yeah.
And it isn't the grand gestures either. As I said, sometimes it's in the most simple things. Um, And I think that's lost sometimes, people expect it like these big gestures on Valentine's Day and things like, and I'm like, again, so yeah, anyway. So yeah, kind of getting into that and getting into that routine. But again, I think another thing that's important is making sure that you remain you outside of the couple. Like, I think we
Uh,
talked about it the other day when we were at a friend's house. It's like having your group of friends and still being you while being in a couple is so important.
oh yeah, you
I
bring
feel
so
anyway.
much energy and you've got something different to talk about. You're
Yeah.
resourced on your own and you're happy on your own. Because I
Yeah.
think that's another myth, right?
Oh,
That person is going to make you happy
yeah.
all the time.
The minute they wake up,
They
they make
can't.
you happy.
They can't make you happy. You have to find your own happiness. And if you look at it from the flip side, that's an incredible responsibility to think that
Oh my God.
you have to be taking care of it. You're fully responsible for somebody else's
Else's happiness.
happiness.
That
That
would scare me.
doesn't that doesn't work. You have
Yeah.
to learn to take care of yourself because that
Yeah.
just simply is not going to work.
Yeah.
And if you're the one demanding that your husband or your partner, whoever it is, they're fully responsible for you, you're actually going to burn them out. And people need to
Yeah.
be aware that, if I'm just like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, so I'm happy. Well, you know what? You're going to end up blowing up your relationship because it doesn't work that way.
And into that, I think finding ways to communicate too,
Yes.
right? Finding ways to acknowledge that, you know, just like we said, it's not always going to be happy and rosy. And if you're both having an off day, I think that is something as well that you learn as you go through it is not to have a go at each other. It's so easy to kind of turn around and snap at the other one because you kind of think, oh, well, I've had a crappy day and, they have no idea what I've been through and, kind of take it out on them just because they unfortunately happen to be there. And I think that's sometimes it, right? That is the end
Yeah.
of the day, they're the one that's there. You're tired, you're cranky, and they just have to say one thing that normally you would just be like, yeah, okay. And they say that one thing, and you just kind of see red and snap. And then that's this kind of, well, in this comparison, right?
Oh,
Oh, I'm
comparison.
super
That saying
tired.
comparison is a thief of joy.
Oh my God, I think it's the thief of marriages too, because really, right? If you're trying to like, oh, well, I'm more tired, you did this. No, but again, finding if you're heard and you know that your spouse has heard you or your partner, you're not necessarily looking, that they immediately jump out. But I think so many people feel unheard in their relationships, right? They feel that they're just either blending into the furniture kind of thing with time, and it's just like this routine that is in and just you mindlessly go about your day, but you're both there. And
Mhm.
that's it, right? You're fading away and suddenly there's no spark. Those little moments that you go, oh yeah, you see them and you think, yeah, you're really cute, right? It's that's gone. And I think that's, yeah,
When you're
you
talking
heard,
about respect, I was thinking, so my husband and I have an unwritten rule. I don't know that we've ever truly talked about it, but it's an unwritten rule. Respect is
right?
everything.
Yeah,
We've been together for 16 years. Sure, we've fought, we've got become upset with each other, become sharp with each
yeah.
other. But you know what we've never done? is we've never sworn at each other. We've never
Mm,
put each other down. We've
mm,
never said really derogatory things. Even in the worst of moments, we've never said, I hate you. You're such an ass. You're blah,
mm.
blah, 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 blah. And I've seen other people do that
Oh,
where it's very much, kill or be killed. And
yeah, I like
it's
it. It's so
so hard to come back from that. So when you're even in the worst of moments, you really have to, this is the person you want to spend the rest of your life with.
mm,
Even in the worst moments, you still need to rein it in and have a certain amount of respect. Because how
yeah.
do you come back from that? Right. And so that has worked really, really well for us.
Mm.
Because I think it's a little bit of the kiss of death when you're doing that.
Oh, I think so because the thing is, once you get into that, you're kind of almost giving yourself permission to do it again the next time things
Yeah.
happen. And then, and I agree, it's you, it's hard to, I think you probably can if both, but then both parties need to be in it and want it. And I think that's the issue when those kind of situations arise. Usually one partner still wants to be in it, and the other partner's going, I don't need to put up with this anymore. Like I've been putting up with it for so long now. Um, I don't want to do that, right? And I think that's like with anything, it is sometimes timing too, right? If you think about, as you get older, one of the things that I found, it's not necessarily that has helped us, but that I've really enjoyed is we have common objectives together as a couple, but we've also got things going on individually. Do you know what I mean? It comes back to that still being your own person while being part of a couple. And I think having plans together, no matter how tiny they are, um, is important, and that it's just yours, right? You and your partners. It's no kids, no family members, no, but things that you enjoy doing or spending time together. And it doesn't even mean that you have to be talking all the time, right? Sometimes I just love spending a Saturday now at home, just kind of pottering around. We'll have a coffee together, and then he goes off and does his things. And I don't know, I go around it like I do what I would like to do, but I know he's around. And that is just somehow a really, God, I sound
Comforting.
old. It's a really nice feeling. No, but it is, right? You know that they're here. You know that you don't have to, they're just there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, that's one of the nicest things now is that you don't that you're not looking for that validation anymore. It's there. Yeah, you're heard, you're seen, and that's the most important.
I think also, and I've learned this not only through my practice, but through my own personal experience as well, is that you you really are actually marrying into the family. And,
Mm,
because it's like, no, I'm marrying him, I'm not marrying the family.
you are,
But
no matter how you choose to do
and
it.
even if your spouse is estranged from their family and has nothing to do with it, here's the you know hard truth of it all is that that person still is carrying
Yeah.
patterns of belief, of values, of
Mm,
ways of communicating, what's important to them and what's not important to them. And I think a lot of people get caught up in that because, well, why is he not reacting to this? Why is that not important to him? But when you look at the bigger picture and you're looking at the perspective of what his family did, it starts to make more sense. So then it doesn't become so personal. It's something that now you can work with and maybe explain why it's important to you. And maybe you guys can come to the middle. Um, so just a kind of a interesting story about that is understanding each other.
and I think that's, and just like you said, people don't, you are spot on when you say that because, especially if there's different cultures involved,
Yeah.
it really is you are creating a new blend, right? When you partner up with somebody, you're creating a new perfume and whatever it is, but it is new, and it is so true that you have to be aware. And I mean, sometimes you're not always, it's not always possible to, but I think if later on down the line there are issues because of the extended family, as you said, not taking it personally or not holding your partner, not being angry specifically at them for certain behaviors, but understanding that it does come from a broader context, right? Because
Yes.
we do tend to just narrow it down to the partner, right?
We
And
But there's such a broader perspective there. And
yeah,
so we need to, and that's a lot of times where the communication falls down, is because we're not hearing each other because of
yeah,
our past values. And I
yeah.
think the other thing, because I love this book and I talk about it all the
I was
time.
going to ask you about it because I know you've just read it.
So the Five Love Languages by Gary Chapman. Here. Look, it's this
Yay. I
one.
need to read that.
So I actually read this a long time ago when we were newly together. Somebody told me about it. And it talks about the way in which we receive love, um, and that we're all different. And so in this book, and some of it is, it's an old book, so some of the examples and stuff are outdated, but the concept is right.
Yeah.
And there might be more love languages at this point besides the five love languages, but some of them are words of affirmations like the I love you, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch are how
Mm.
different ways that we receive love. And
Yeah.
so I started reading this book and I was sure that I was words of affirmation. I'm a chatty Cathy. So, I like to talk about things. So I thought I was
Our
words
podcast, right?
fast. And it turns out no.
Yeah.
And I realized that when we got married, one of my sister-in-laws said to me, make sure he tells you I love you every day. And I was like, oh, but we'd
It's
already
odd.
been together for like 6 years at that time. And I thought, oh, okay. Because, that's not something that he says very often. And it didn't bother me at all. Because
Until somebody mentions it.
well, because he shows it in so many different ways. And when he does say it, it's so powerful and meaningful. So that was a really big aha moment for me, is recognizing what was actually really important to me and what was important to him. And so
Mm.
for me, it's quality time. We need to go out for
Mm.
dinner on a semi-regular basis. That way there's no distractions. There's just him and I. We can sit
Mm.
down and it just fills my soul that I have his complete attention and we can talk about all sorts of stuff. He is acts of service.
Really?
He is acts of service. So if I do something special for him, he's a foodie. So if I try and make a really nice dinner,
And
he
he's
just, being acknowledged and acts of service, that's what he loves. And that's also because how we receive love is often how we show it as well.
and as we said,
So
it kind of comes back to the being seen and being heard,
yeah,
right? That person is seeing you for who you are. And I think I'm probably a combination, depending sort of, I don't know, kind of what's going on. But like I remember last summer, my car died. My Hyundai just died on the highway. And that was 10 years old. I was really frustrated. And it was during the summer. We'd just come back from vacation. I was trying to kind of like figure out what are we going to do? Do we get a secondhand one because the kids borrow my car? Like, what's going on? And my husband actually went out, didn't tell me, and he went to one or two dealerships and he contacted people and he phoned them up and he set up appointments for us. And that I was right, that was it. I was like, oh my God, you took time out of your day to do that for me, because he could see that it was really starting to wind me up, this whole, because you're dealing with the insurance and just everything else, right? And that was it. I was like, wow, great, thank you. Like, I love you to the moon and back. Just, I mean, obviously many other things too, but acts of love, right? It was like, that's what you did for me. I didn't ask you, you just did it.
you just did it. So I think the important part here is that we have to learn to accept love the way somebody can give it,
Yeah,
not the way we
you
want
want it.
it. Those are two very different things.
And this is it. And I think, unfortunately, we are, with everything around us, we're told like this is what love looks like. And I think love, sort of like those five language, there are, like you just said, probably so many other ways of
Showing
showing
love.
it. And I think throughout marriage, it can change too, because let's face it, we all evolve and we're getting older and we're looking for slightly different things sometimes. But I think as long as you do have that recognition that, you have something together, to keep you moving forward together,
Yeah.
right? To have plans that you are looking forward to doing with your partner is so important, even if they're little, right?
Yeah. So Susan, I think we need to bring up one last thing before we shut her down on this topic. Although I love this topic, and we could really be
We could
talking
go
about
on for hours.
for hours. Probably do another podcast on this in a different area, but let's talk about sex
Yes,
in a long-term
baby.
relationship. People are probably wondering, oh my God, now I'm stuck with this one person forever and ever and
That's
ever.
it. Yeah.
But sex can stay really great
Yeah.
long,
And
maybe less frequency,
yeah,
but for us anyway, I think the quality keeps getting better because the more we trust each other,
yeah,
the more comfortable we are with each other, the more we can express ourselves in a physical way.
yeah,
Um, and so the quality is great. It's
yeah.
the quantity is down. So sex, yeah, I think things can stay really great. But like you said earlier, like, everything is kind of up and down. You got your down periods, you have your up
This is
periods.
it. You have moments
Yeah,
where,
go.
and I think again, it's this pressure. I hate to say it, society, but there is, right? This whole once a week, twice a week, like, and I'm like, it will look different for every couple. But I do agree with you. I think that the more you are able to connect with your partner in your individual love languages, I agree with you, like the better the sex gets, because that intimacy and that closeness really is there. And that can only come with time.
Yes.
Right. Yes,
Agree.
but it's different at the beginning because it's that young sort of like, God, I
Liking.
can't keep my hands off you. And it's kind of still like that as you get older, but just in a slightly different way, right? Yeah, you see it slightly differently, I think, too, right? Our vision of it and our what you're looking for from it, is slightly different. And I
Yes.
can't put my finger on it, but there's something that you're getting out of it that you don't get when you're younger. And I don't know if it's because it's the amount of time you've spent with that person. And I don't know if it's because it's the intimacy that you both have from just being together so, not so much, but for so long. I don't know what it is, but I think you get something out of it that's much more powerful than when you're younger. I don't know.
I
That's my personal thought. But
That's, I completely agree with that. And I think just to sum everything up, you can have beautiful long-term relationships, but at the
mm,
end of the day, there's ups, there's downs. You can have
mm,
crap times, you got to power through it.
yeah.
But you have to put work in. That's,
This is it. And I think
yeah.
it's not work in the traditional meaning of the word work, but you have to put effort and you both have to want to put the effort in. And you may not put equal effort in all the time, like that's impossible,
Oh, really great point. Yeah, no,
right?
that
Some
sometimes
people
one is
are,
out and the other one's in and you gotta, yeah,
you,
sorry.
and no, but it's true. And I think when you recognize that too, it's okay, I can see that at the moment there's other things going on, and it's like, okay, that's all right. Because it's kind of like that Saturday idea when they're around, but you don't have to be physically together all the time. It's knowing, okay, they're going through whatever it is but that has no impact on the relationship itself. Like that relationship is still intact. It's just they're kind of dealing with other things and they can't put as much into it at the moment. And I think not putting blame on that because maybe you are is super important too,
Oh,
right?
okay, that's just amazing. And I love that thought. 100% right. And so I say let's
Yeah.
end that. You got to put in work. I hope people found some tips on this from two ladies who have really, really wonderful relationships and partners and what we have learned through the years.
Mm,
If you like this, please like this podcast. If you have any comments, we would love to hear what's going
yeah.
on in your relationship. We'd also love to hear, like, if you have anything going on and you'd like us to talk about it, or you want to join us on something, give us a
Yes.
buzz. Our details are in the description.
Mm,
and we'd love to hear from you.
we
Um,
certainly would.
yes. All right, everybody, we wish you a great rest of your day. Goodbye.
Bye.